how to set up a mom-to-be sash file in your Cricut, and you're going to use a similar technique for any of the sash designs that you get from me. So I've opened a new canvas and I'm going to go to upload. And just to save time, I have already uploaded the one we're going to play with, the mom-to-be. So I'm going to select that and add to canvas. Now it is big. You want to make sure it's around 3.5 inches tall to make sure it's the right size. You're going to be putting this on a 4-inch wide satin ribbon. That gives you a really nice thick sash length. So you'll notice that this one is going to be 20 inches long for the whole mom-to-be. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to ungroup so that we have all of the different sections, the mom, the hearts, the two, and the bee. I left the hearts separate because if you wanted to do them a different color, it gives you the option, but we're going to do all of this in a pretty pink to go on white for a mom-to-be of a little girl. So I'm going to have the mom, then I'm going to click the two hearts and the word to, and I'm going to group those. And then we have the bee as separate. Now what we need to do is we need to organize these so that we can cut them on a 12 by 12 piece of HTV vinyl. But you'll notice set up this way, it's going to 13.5, so that's not going to work out. So I'm going to select the mom and the bee, and I'm going to rotate them 90 degrees. And then I'm going to put the two down here. So that gets us within our cutting area for the Cricut machine. Now, to make this even easier, I'm going to come over here, I'm going to grab a shape, I'm going to take a square, I'm going to unclick the lock so that I can turn it into a rectangle. And I'm going to draw a rectangle around each of these. I'm going to make it white. Over here, I'm going to pull it to the background, and then I'm just going to duplicate that and resize it. What this is going to do is it's going to cut this rectangle so that your three words are going to cut separately, and it's going to be really easy to separate them on that HTV vinyl. But you want to make sure these squares are all in the back so that you can see what's going on. Okay, so that looks good. Now we're going to drag over all of it. I'm going to choose attach. And it's a basic cut. That's what we want to do. Oh my gosh, don't forget this. We need to flip it. Because we're using heat transfer vinyl, we need to flip horizontally. You always have to have your words cutting backwards. And then we're going to choose make it. We're going to make sure it lets us do it on a 12 by 12. If you have it too separated, it will make it look bigger, and you can do that, or you can go back and rearrange. Then we're going to choose continue. And then I'm going to choose premium vinyl for my base material. And then it tells me what to do. Use the fine point blade and load the mat. Now, when you're putting your HTV vinyl down, make sure the shiniest part goes down on the mat. If you're used to using adhesive vinyl, think about the shiny part of an HTV vinyl as the equivalent of your transfer tape, right? So it's not the part that cuts, it's the part that allows you to move the HTV onto the material that you're going to press it onto. So we're just going to get that done, and then I'll show you how to organize it and get it pressed onto your ribbon. All right, I have my vinyl on my mat, nice and secure, and I'm just going to press the load button. It'll pull that in there, set up the machine, and then when the little C button starts to click, I'm going to click that, and it is going to cut our mom-to-be. Now we're going to weed the three sections, and I like to keep it on my mat. It helps keep it nice and secure. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to angle it so I can see where my edges are, and I'm going to grab the corner of one of the squares, and I'm just going to pull that up. And this is going to get most of the excess out of the word mom. And when it gets stuck, just use your tool to get it moving again. But one thing I love about HTV is you can kind of just really manhandle it, yank on it. If it rips, it doesn't matter because you're always pulling the part that you're going to throw away. And then you're just going to go back in and grab the pieces of the O. All right, so we're going to do that for all 3 of these squares to separate the 3 sections that we're going to be heating onto the sash. And adding these squares around the text makes it so much easier because it helps you automatically piece this so that you're not taking off everything at once. And we're going to be able to save these 2 sections to use for another project. So it helps you waste less vinyl as well. All right, so I have that weeded. I'm going to take it off of my mat. And then I'm just going to take my paper cutter. I'm going to trim off the extra that I can save for a future project. And then I'm going to cut these into the 3 sections. Now we aren't totally done because we obviously don't want this square around the word mom. So I can either cut it off with the paper cutter like I'm doing with the word to. I got 2 of the 4 sides off. And then I can just weed off the rest. But you want to make sure you get all of that off. And the only thing left are the words that you actually want on your sash. Now the last step before we're ready to work with our sash is we need to cut off the extra clear plastic around these letters because we need to make sure all of the vinyl will be touching the sash close to all these things. So I like to cut just really close to the things on the edges. So close to the hearts, close to the B, and close to that M. All right, so we have those ready. Next, we need our sash. Now this is a roll of 4-inch wide ribbon that I got. This is wired, only because I didn't realize it was wired. I would probably get regular that didn't have the wire in the edges for future, but it does work. I have cut this to 70 inches long. That's going to be a good length for most people to go over the shoulder, kind of go under the arm, and then attach down here. And what you're going to do is you're going to use these Velcro circles that just stick. So you decide how, put it on your person or give it to your client. If you're selling these, just give them this and they put one side on the back of one and the other, and then that's going to hold that sash together. So if you think the mom's going to be a little bit larger, then make this bigger. So it is 70 inches long and I have folded it in half. Now we are going to place the mom. Now you're going to want it a few inches off the shoulder. If you assume this is the shoulder, right? This is going over the top of the shoulder. So you want to start the words about here. So maybe 5 or 6 inches down. So we're just going to place the first word, and this plastic kind of sticks on there. You have mom. And then space that out however you like. To be. Okay, now you have to watch because we did cut off the edge, but you can't really see this. That part of the B is going over plastic from the mom to be. So I need to trim this a little bit because I don't want to heat. Well, I don't have to actually. I either trim that or I make sure the B is underneath the plastic for the 2. Just make sure before you add any heat that you are lining this up so all of this vinyl is touching the satin ribbon. What we need to do is we need to always double check the heat that you need to use with your press for the materials that you're using. And I have used either the Cricut Easy Press Mini or the Easy Press 2. The Easy Press 2, it's obviously bigger. You don't have to press it as many times, but the Mini works well on the ribbon as well. So this time we're going to use the Easy Press 2. So I'm going to choose that, and if it has an underline, that means it's going to give us the settings for that. We're going to choose our material, which is an everyday iron-on. We'll just call it iron-on design. And then the base material, here's where you guess sometimes. You just don't know. So I'm going to call it neoprene because it's a synthetic. So that's why I'm choosing that. And then Cricut pressing mat, and click apply. So it's saying to preheat my Easy Press 2 to 280 degrees, and then I'm going to do firm pressure for 20 seconds, and I'm going to remove the liner when it is cool to the touch. So let's go do that. While my press heats up, we're going to talk about this material. So normally if I'm pressing onto cotton, I just use this plastic, as long as there's no layers, I just use this plastic and press right on that, because this will protect it, it'll be totally fine. But when you're pressing on something that is synthetic or delicate or might melt, you definitely want to use something over top of it. So I am going to be using this piece of Teflon sheeting that I got from Amazon, often used for cooking. I prefer to use it for crafting. I prefer to craft than to cook. Or you could also use parchment paper, but you want to put something that is going to protect your material a little bit from the heat. Okay, my press is at 280 and it's set for 20 seconds. So I'm going to press down, and it says firm pressure. Sometimes people have issues with heat transfer not sticking because they're not giving it some oomph. You got to push down on that puppy. So I'm going to put it down, press the C, it'll count down to 20, it will beep, and then we will move it along and do every section of this mom-to-be. All right, so most of these sashes with the easy press, you're going to do it in 3 sections and you'll get it all along. And this is one of the longer ones. Some of them you'll be able to do it with just 2 presses. And make sure you're pressing straight down and not moving, especially on the satin, because sometimes you can see a little bit of a shadow, but oh my gosh, this is going to be so amazing and something so easy for you to make. Now it does say to wait for it to cool, and then just gently peel that up. And this is just going to be one of those extra touches for a baby shower that will make it extra special for the mom-to-be. You could also make it for the grandmothers, and I'm going to do bride for bridal showers, bachelorette parties, so many ways that we can use these, but you're going to use the same method on each. So that is all there is to it. So now we have our sash. We're going to add the Velcro so that it attaches. If you want to, you can leave these ends flat, or you can fold them. Get my fabric scissors. You can fold it in half and cut from the outer edge in at an angle. And I'm going to try not to cut the wire because I don't want to use fabric scissors on wire. Cut it an angle just to make a little fancier end for that. And then you can either leave it as is, or you can add fray check or a really thin amount of clear nail polish so that this doesn't fray. And I just buy a bottle of really inexpensive clear polish that I keep in my sewing area and crafting area for things just like this. Just try and do a really thin line, because you might notice even when it dries that it's there, but once it's on the bride, it's going to be fine. And you would definitely notice the ribbon kind of coming unraveled more than you're going to notice a very thin line of clear polish.